How's it going, guys? We're doing our garden tour. It's an overcast day. It's really cold. Oh my God, there's an airplane. Hold on. Okay, guys, we're doing our garden tour. I'm so excited to get this filmed and show you guys everything that we've done. We spent yesterday working on getting it all cleaned up and this morning mulching the beds, and it's a nice overcast day, so it should be beautiful to film, no harsh shadows or anything. And let's just jump into it because I'm really excited about it. So this is going to be backyard, but we're going to come in through the side gate. Brent just installed these lights here. They're really, really beautiful. And then we have this lemon cypress right when you walk in. So let's go through the gate now. So coming in, everything has been mulched. There was a lot that needed to be done, but it looks so much better now. One of the things I'm really happy with this year is our redbud tree. This is an eastern redbud, and it flowered beautifully this year, and now it's leafing out and starting to do its little seed pods, which I also think are really, really pretty too. So coming down this way, we've got all kinds of stuff in this area. I have two different clematises. I've got this very first one, which is the Diamond Snow by Proven Winners. And I'm using it more as a ground cover than letting it climb. It gets these really white blooms. They're really, really pretty. And then this rose, I think this is like an Abraham Lincoln, and the blooms on this thing are massive. It got a little sun scorched because we have been a little bit colder this year, and then it hit like almost like 92 degrees or something like that. It was so hot. You guys saw me plant that clematis up, and then I came in here and I put in these foxgloves. I forgot to water this one, so it's a little wilty. It's all right. But it's looking good. It's nice and mulched. Everything looks clean. The weeds are pulled. And this is what you see when you first come into our property. A lot of people come this way through the driveway gate when they come back in here. And so this area really needs to kind of be something special, and I can't wait for a lot more of this stuff to just really fill in. Coming down this way, we have this salvia right here. We planted this 3 years ago. This is called Hot Lips, and the smell on it is super beautiful, and the hummingbirds love this thing. They go absolutely crazy for it. So really, really happy with this guy. We shear it back. It usually grows to about here, like halfway through this brick, and I shear it back really, really hard, like twice a year. We do it early in the spring. And then we do it middle of the summer. And it takes to it, and it's totally fine. And then over on this side, I have a climbing rose. This is an iceberg, and it's pretty massive right now. I want to continue to train it to kind of go up and over the side of the house this way. Roses do really well, and then a few other things. I don't even know what the name of this is, but it has done really, really well. I got this maybe 4 years ago. This was one of the first things that we planted in the ground here, and it's really pretty. It gets these little dainty purple flowers, and they're just super cute. I like how wispy this plant is. I actually use it in a ton of floral arrangements. And yeah, so this is the side yard. This is what you see when you first come in. And this right here is where we hang out a ton. Oh, before we get anywhere, this is that Magnolia Ricky that I potted up, and it has totally leafed out. It's so pretty. It's grown just since I potted it up from here to here. So quite a bit just in a very short period of time. The baby's breath is doing really well underneath here. It gets lots of water, and it's just really pretty. So really happy with that. Like I said, we hang out here all the time. We have a fan underneath and the lights, and we actually have a TV on under here. And so we sit and we enjoy dinners and just hanging out under this little gazebo all the time. And it's really nice because we get the view that you guys just saw. Plus, when we're sitting there, we see the rest of the property. So it's kind of like a little perfect spot. Where do we want to start? Should we go this way? All right, so normally this area right here for the last couple months has a fence around it, but we took it down for you guys. We're trying to get grass to grow in here. The dogs run back and forth right here all day long, and they lay right here. So this has just been dirt up until a couple months ago. and it's starting to actually fill in. So we're trying to keep the dogs off of it, and they are inside right now for the purpose of this video. But normally there's a fence around it and a few other areas, but I wanted it all down so you guys could actually see this place in like all its glory. This bed over here, this is a autumn brilliance fern or something like that. Autumn joy. It is so pretty, this color. And then you can see this down here, this green is the older colors. And then it shoots up these really, really pretty red spikes, and then they'll fade to a green color. And then back here, this is one of my favorite ferns. This is a much softer one. This is called Lady in Red. And as they age, these stems will turn a really bright red color with this like chartreuse green foliage of the leaves, and they're just so soft. It's really, really pretty fern. And then this side, we actually had the water turned off, and I didn't realize it. And then we turned it on last night and totally flooded the area. So now it's really watered, overly saturated. You can see it's still wet in some spots. But this hydrangea I planted last year. It's the Glacier Bay something. I don't remember. I'll pop the name up on the screen. But the new growth, the stems on it are black. So that is super, super beautiful. And it blooms on new and on old wood. So if anything ever happens to it, it doesn't matter. You're going to get blooms, and you can see it's totally just budded up everywhere along this. I have this bishop's hat right here, and it just totally fried from not getting water, and I just wasn't even paying attention to that. So that was my bad. Coming along this side, this is, I constantly joke about it being my pink and purple and like reds. Almost everything in here is a pink color. So first I have some dianthus down there, super pretty. They just popped like yesterday. And then I've got foxglove that's about 3 years old. This is the Dalmatian variety. Absolutely love it. And then right here, this is the silver lining tree rose that we have. And I have been working to like train this. We shear it back twice a year. I shear it back early spring. I sheared it, a month and a half ago. I cut it back hard. And then I'll probably cut it back midsummer because this will continue to grow. But it is covered in buds, so we'll get really large. They go about this big, huge, like silvery purple blooms. And we're gonna stop really quick because now the train's coming. Okay, so the train's gone, but now somebody down the way is wood chipping. It is what it is, so sorry if you guys can hear some sounds in the background. But this is a lilac. This is Lilac Sensation, and I'm really happy with how big this has gotten. I started this from something that was about this size right here, and it has just really grown into its own. I love lilacs. Our neighbor has one, and it's absolutely massive, and it's like a borrowed view across the way, and it's just a purple mound every single year. This one blooms a little bit later though. Last year I think we only got 2 blooms on it, so I'm hoping for more this year. Above that though is this white alder tree, and I am in love with this tree. My grandparents had some at their old house, and it really made me want one. I love the light colored bark on the tree and how fast this thing has grown. If you need a fast growing tree, the white alder is definitely one that you want. This tree is about 1.5 years old, and it's massive already. We were able to get this in my car. So I have a little CRV, and we were able to fit this tree in there 1.5 years ago. No way would we be able to fit this in there now. It is massive, super beautiful tree, and I think it has like a 30-foot spread or something like that. So big tree, takes up lots of space, and I want to say it's like a 40-foot tall tree, 30-foot spread. Yeah, really pretty. Highly recommend this if you need something that's gonna take over an area really quick. Back here, I have some astilbe coming in really nicely. It's starting to throw up its bloom spikes right here and right here. It's a pink variety, and then I have some pink columbine. I have some purple fountain grass back there, and then these are a scabiosa, and they are also a purple variety. And then back there I have a spirea called Magic Carpet, and it'll get like an orange and pink color, and then it'll get really pink blooms, and the blooms are already starting. Like I said, this bed is just so much pink. And then down here I have a little Gerber daisy that's about 3 years old for us, and that's pink. And then here is a David Austin rose. You can see a bloom is opening up or starting to form, and it's the Royal Jubilee, and it is so, so pretty. The pink on it is just absolutely, it is so intense. It's insane. And then this is one of my favorite Snapdragon varieties. This is Apple Blossom, and I mean, it's just a really pretty soft pink color. And the like white edges on it, I love Snapdragons and I love Apple Blossom. Here we have the aviary, and I'm growing wisteria over that. The wisteria is 5, 6 years old. Wisteria doesn't do what it does for a lot of people here in California. This is what it does at 5 years old. I'm barely just getting it to go over to the other side, and I think I've got maybe 2 blooms back there. So it's not invasive for us. I know for a lot of you guys it's super invasive. And then over here I have some calla lilies, and they're starting to fizzle out a little bit, but they are sending up some more bloom spikes. And then I have a shorter fountain grass. This is just a green one, and I like how soft the grass texture is on those. Yeah, and then coming down this way on the other side of the aviary, I have another rose, and this one's in a container, and I love this rose. We weren't really rose people until 2 years ago, and I started buying some David Austin roses, and then we were given a few roses, and they kind of quickly became one of our favorites. I have a couple that are like really in full bloom right now on the property, and they're so beautiful. I can't wait to show you guys. I have an azalea down here. I don't like azaleas. I bought this for Brent, so that's why it's tucked around the corner. The blooms are really pretty, but it doesn't do much for me. So it is what it is. And then I've got Creeping Jenny, which is one of my favorite ground covers here in Zone 9 in California. Creeping Jenny for us is a perennial, and during the winter time it turns this really beautiful kind of like brown bronzy color, and then the second that we get days that are in the 80s and 90s, it shoots out to this chartreuse green color. And then in here I have some dahlias that are also planted. I have the Petra's Wedding, and I don't think that they made it this year because it was such a wet, cold winter. I think that they might have rotted in the ground a little bit, and so I planted a cafe au lait in there, and I used these peony cages right here to support my dahlias. So we'll see if those ones come back, but the cafe au lait should come back, which is a real beauty. I have my espalier apple tree that you guys have seen. I'm working on training that guy a little bit. I've got some lilies, and then I have some carex in here. This is the carex Prairie Fire, and I love the green and then the random little blades that are really an orange color. I think that that's really, really beautiful. And then back here, I have dahlias sprouting everywhere in here, so I have to be careful where I try to walk in these flower beds. So there's dahlias sprouting everywhere. There's one right here, a couple buds. So I gotta be really careful with where I walk in the garden. Back behind that though, this is a rose of Sharon. I don't even remember the color of it. I'm wanting to say it's like a pink color, because I think we have a pink one, but I can't quite remember. And then behind that, that thing that's leaning sideways like this, that's actually asparagus. So we planted asparagus a couple years ago back there, and they shoot up the asparagus, and then they flower, and that's what they do. And I actually think it's really pretty when they flower. So I leave them. I will stake them up, and then I have an Italian cypress that has some little weird curve thing going on, and I need to remove those. Actually, there's 2 of them, and they gotta go. They're too close to the fence. When I planted them, this fence wasn't here. The fence was actually about a foot back, and so there would have been enough room, but now they're right up against it. Then we have this plant. I never, ever remember the name of it, but I seriously love the flowers on it. They are like the softest, they look like tissue paper almost, and they're just so delicate, and you can see there are so many blooms to come. Just from this one little stem, there are 5 just right there. And there's one that's already faded. So there were 6 just from that one. And then you can see like this has 2 of them that are fully in bloom. I don't remember the name of it. I will pop it up on the screen, but I love what this does, and it blooms so early for us. Coming down this way, I have another Snapdragon. And the other Snapdragon and this one were from last year. I planted these. And so Snapdragons winter over for us really beautifully because we don't get super cold. I just, look at that. They're so pretty. And then this is my favorite rose that we have. I I cut it back hard and I just transplanted it. This is the David Austin Queen of Sweden Rose, and she is so beautiful. I want like 10 of them on the property. I've seen people that use them to line a walkway. They don't have many thorns on them, so you can run your hands up against them and you're not really gonna get caught, which is really nice. And the blooms are just so pretty, and they're upright. They don't like hang down. So as you walk, you just see all these blooms facing you from the ground, and it's beautiful. So I want 10 of those, but we'll start with the one. Over here is the Scabiosa. I don't remember the variety. I think it's Black Knight or something like that, but they're huge, huge Scabiosas. This is the first one that's open, and you can see that there are lots more to come. Also, super, super pretty Scabiosa. I think I have 3 of these plants that I just started from seed, and we have a whole bunch also for the cut flower garden of this. I use a ton of these in arrangements. Coming this way, this is another hydrangea right here. I planted this one and another one right next to it 2.5 years ago. And the blooms on this one are really cool. They start out this pink color. You can see they're starting to come through, and there's lots more to come. And then depending on the soil type, sometimes they change for us to a blue color. So we get pinks and blues and also a little bit of white off of that one hydrangea. It's so beautiful. And then right here, this is the most exciting thing that I think on the property. This is my peony. This is year 3 for this guy, and you can see all the buds, and they're starting to open up. I was hoping that maybe they'd be open for you guys for this garden tour, but they're not quite there. And there are tons. Last year we got 1 bloom off of it, and I could not be more excited for this year to have all of these blooms. It's gonna be so beautiful once they open. I'm waiting till they get to their marshmallow stage is what it's called. And when these are as soft as a marshmallow, that's when you know it's time to harvest them. So they're not quite there, they're still pretty hard. So I probably have another week, maybe week and a half before they're ready to harvest and start using. This is a snowball viburnum, and it burns and it gets aphids and spider mites every year for me. So if it does the same thing this year, it's gonna get pulled. I have another one on the property that's already blooming. It's beautiful, it's much larger, and it doesn't get either of those. So if this one acts up again, it's gone. And then down here is another Scabiosa. This is just like the most common one that you find at Home Depot and places like that. It's just a really pretty purple color, and they're much smaller. I don't use these ones in arrangement because they tend to just have weaker stems and they flop over for me. So I don't use those. And then down this way, this is a St. John's wort, and I love this. The leaf structure on this is so interesting. You can see that they come out in 2s. So they come out and they go opposite ways, 2, and then they're staggered 2s, and then they're staggered again in 2s. And I just think that that is so cool. And then all of these will turn into these beautiful yellow flowers like these guys are right here. So, you know, you kind of get a really cool show out of them. And then these will turn into berries, and I want to say that they were a red color last year. So you get these yellow blooms, red berries, and then this really interesting leaf shape. And then down here, I have more of the creeping Jenny. I'm trying to use this as my ground cover in the garden everywhere. I want to be able to mulch less and have ground cover that I could just dig out if there's somewhere that I want to pop a plant in. And I think it's so much prettier than just nothing. So might as well have the creeping Jenny there, especially if we get a really cool show of the green color, and then we get that fall color of the bronze. And then back here, this is an Arbovita. I can't quite remember the variety of it, but it is so pretty, and I love how they just are flat. Can you guys, I don't know if you guys can like see how they're just like flat little stems. It's so weird. And then they get these really cool little berries on them that are this like silvery color. So I love this. If I can remember the name, I will pop it up on the screen. And then back here, this is a pomegranate tree that I swear we have killed 4 or 5 times. And it just continues to come back for us. We've never gotten any good pomegranates off of it. We've gotten kind of weird pomegranates off of it. And the first year that it was in the ground, when we had our puppy, she like ripped it in half. And then the second year she chewed off like the main stem. So these are all like the side shoots off of it. This thing has just been tortured, and it just continues to come back every single year for us. and now it's got this like wild branch that hangs into the walkway that needs some help. Let's have you back up and get a good shot of this willow tree. So this is our willow tree, and this was planted May 22nd, 2020. So it is 3 years old, and this thing is massive. I cannot believe how big this has gotten in such a short period of time. It is huge, it's beautiful, it's majestic, and you can see that we have a bench underneath it, and I hang out there all the time when I need a break from in the garden. I come sit under here, provide some beautiful shade. And then we also have a light underneath, so at nighttime it illuminates the inside and the whole thing just glows at night. It is so beautiful. It's magical at nighttime. It's really beautiful, and like I said, for 3 years old, I mean, it's amazing that you get a tree this big in just 3 years. The main thing though is water. We water this thing nonstop during the summer months. I will literally take a hose and set it at the base of this tree, and I will soak it for 2 hours with a slow hose going. So this is our willow tree, 3 years old, and it's really beautiful. If you have room for a willow tree, I highly recommend it. So now let's come this way. I'm gonna skip past the front of the shed because it's kind of a mess right now, and we're just gonna come over to kind of the side yard of the vegetable garden. This is one of my other David Austin roses. This is Claire Austin, and she is opening up, and she's coming into her own this year. She's really filling out. Look at how many blooms there are to come. Like, that is just insane how much there is. It's a really, really beautiful rose. It gets huge, and the plan is to train this up along the side of the shed here, and a couple of these canes I'll train to go over the front of the shed, so that way the shed just looks like it's like in bloom. And you can see this one's a little bit more aged and super beautiful. Look how many petals there are. I try to come out here and open them up like that. Like, they're just this white and then like a buttery, creamy yellow on the inside, and the petal count is just absolutely insane. And we're gonna stop one more time because there's another train coming. I don't know what is going on today, but there are so many coming by, so give us a second. Okay, we're back again. I don't know what's going on with the trains today, but there's a ton of them, and I guess everyone's home working on wood chipping and painting and everything because the neighborhood's not quiet today. But this is the Claire Austin. This will be growing up and over the shed, like I said. And then down here, I have 3 hydrangeas, and 2 of them have started to come up. I think that they're called, it starts with a P. I want to say Precision, but that's not it. I'll pop the name up on the screen. And I lash those to these lattice every year, and they get about this tall. And they're really beautiful. They have large blooms. They're a dinner plate type dahlia, and I love them. And they get so much sun right here. There's nothing giving them any shade, so they just do really, really well up against the shed right here. Then back here I have 2 birch trees, and these were bought bare root last year. I planted them last spring, and they have just taken off. I was able to fit these also in my car, and there's no way I could fit them in the car now. They're absolutely insane. Then, I mean, you can see, like, they're huge compared to me. I do need to kind of like stake them up a little bit because they're doing a weird lean thing. But behind them, this is where I planted the other snowball viburnum that I have. And you can see that it's blooming. And I love these little white plumes that it gets. Super pretty. This one behaves very well for me. It gets full shade, very, very little sun, maybe a couple hours in the middle of the day, but it's dappled from the birch trees. And this thing's about 5 foot tall. So really pretty, and it's got lots of blooms on it, and I like them just peeking through the birch tree. And then underneath that, I have another peony that I planted from just a root cutting. And so there won't be any blooms this year, but lots of foliage. And then next year I'll get another bloom or 2 maybe. And then third year is when it'll come into its own and really take off. And then this is the same hydrangea that I had over just the way in the side that we were just at by the willow tree. And this is the Endless Summer variety. And I moved this one over here because this one was not doing well next to the other one. And it's doing so much better over here. I transplanted it middle of the summer last year to this spot, and it's a lot happier with me. And then these are heucheras. I bought these in October. I got them for $1 a piece, and they weren't labeled, so I don't know the variety of them, but they're proven winners, and they are amazing. They are huge now. They were in little 4-inch cans last year, and they have taken off this year, and I could not be happier with how these have just filled out. There's 5 of them, and they've grown together beautifully. Coming this way, this is a little English tea rose, and it's really pretty. It's throwing out blooms, quite a few of them, and lots of buds on this. It has been the #1 aphid attractor in the garden this year, and so I'm trying to get on top of it. Hasn't worked out too well for me, so it is what it is. But I'm really happy with this rose. When we first got this rose, I had it in the very front yard, right by our driveway, and I quickly moved it about 6 months after I planted it to back here, and it has just loved its life. And you can see it's well taller than I am, so it's easily 6 feet tall. And I just kind of shear some of these crazier ones back so we can still walk back here. But I love the roses flanking this. The tea rose, this pink color, and then the Claire Austin, the white color. It's really pretty right back here. And then this is my pride and joy this year. This is my artichoke plant. There are, I think, 14 artichokes on this, and we're gonna harvest this big one right here, which doesn't even seem that big, but we're gonna harvest this one because it's starting to open up a little bit. This is the Green Globe variety, and I'm really excited. Last year we didn't get anything off of this, and so this year all of a sudden we get 14 of them. Kind of crazy. Coming this way, this is technically our vegetable garden. Now it is no longer going to be our vegetable garden. There's a few vegetables in here, but not much. We grow morning glories over this arch. This is the cattle panel that we cut in half, and then we just zip tied at the top to a point, and the morning glories over it are so beautiful in the summertime. They're very slow to get going, and then they just take off midsummer and go absolutely crazy. Coming in here though, I've got the tomatoes. This is my carrots, and they did not do well. And then you guys saw I planted zinnias in this bed and in the big bed over there. We've had to put bird netting because I put them in the ground and then the birds quickly came and ate all of the seedlings. There is a blue jay going crazy right now. I'm sure you can hear it. I'm sorry about that. They're mad that we're in our own yard. So I have some garlic in here, and I have zinnias that should be coming up any day now because I just had to re-sow them. And then this is all going to be basil back here, and then this is a celery plant that we don't eat any of the celery on. So it is what it is. And then this is supposed to be my sweet peas, but I don't know what's going on. I put them in the ground and they have not been loving their life. So this is my biggest one, and it's not very tall. It's very sad. This is a kale plant that has gone to flower. I'm hoping that the aphids find this in the garden instead of a few of the other things. And then this is my nectarine tree. This is Gardener's. This is a Garden Delight, I believe. And it has nectarines starting to grow. There's a bunch of them this year, and that is just going to be so exciting. We didn't get any last year from this tree, and so to get them this year, I'm so pumped. I came out here and I hand pollinated all of the flowers to make sure that we were going to get some. And then all of a sudden I got, I think fire blight on it or something. I texted Janie because I wasn't quite sure what was going on. And now that she's a master gardener, I knew that she better know what was going on with my tree. She told me to cut off the parts that were giving me problems. I cut them off, threw them in the trash, used sterile clippers, and because it wasn't affecting all of the branches, she said that I should still be getting some fruit, and I definitely am getting a lot of fruit this year. So that's really exciting. And then underneath it, I grow strawberries, and you can see, look at that. We have our first strawberry starting to color up and a ton more coming along. So really exciting, and I believe that those are the Seascape variety or the Sequoia variety. I can't quite remember. And then in here, I have borage. I planted borage 2 years ago, one time, and it comes up every single year for us now. But the bees like it, and the flowers are really pretty. So I'm not mad at it. I left this one plant. And then this is our berry bed. I have 3 different berries in here. This is the Fall Gold variety, And this is the one that I want to really take over this year. They were so good. They are the best raspberries I've ever had in my entire life. And then we have 2 varieties in here that are thornless varieties. They are, what is this one? This is a raspberry shortcake. And I think we only got a few off of it last year. It's a thornless variety, so if you want something by a patio that's not going to grab onto you, I highly recommend this one. And then we have another one here, and this one is already starting to form some of its berries. It's done flowering, and berries are coming along, and I'm sure we'll get more flushes of flowers as these ones get harvested. And that one right there is the Baby Cakes Blackberry, and it's also a thornless variety. So 2 thornless varieties of blackberries, and or a blackberry and a raspberry. Can't wait for those. And then a raspberry fall gold, and this one does have thorns. So worth it. So worth it. And then tomato and a couple lettuce just tucked in there. And that's pretty much it for the vegetable garden. And then if we come out of the vegetable garden this way, I've got some grapes growing right here on the outside of this. And then this is my other scabiosa plant. So this grape, I swear that I kill it every single year. I swear that I kill this thing. And by the time I want to pull it, all of a sudden it's growing new canes and it's absolutely beautiful. This is year 3 for this grape, and I don't know what I'm doing. We'll see if we get grapes. And then the other scabiosa, it's the same exact variety. It's a little bit further along though, so you can see this one has tons more blooms that are about to start opening. I love scabiosa. It's one of my absolute favorite flowers. They just grow and they just produce so many. And then over this way, this is our compost. And this first aisle in the flower farm, this is our sunflowers, and we have had to put bird netting over this and over a few other areas. I have seeded them 3 times, and the birds keep coming and eating them, and it's driving me bonkers. So I seeded them, they're starting to sprout again, and I put bird netting over it, hoping that takes care of the problem. But this is the rose that's in full bloom. This is Desdemona by David Austin, and it is so incredibly beautiful. I don't know, it gives me like ballerina vibes. Like this one, and then you can see here's a newer one right there, and then one that is really far along right there. It's just so incredibly beautiful. The smell of it is just a very soft, perfumey smell. It doesn't like overpower anything, but when you get up close, you can really smell it. And it smells like a traditional classic rose that's like softer, so it's not intense. And then back here behind this, I have another scabiosa and a peony back here. That is first year peony, and I can't believe how big it is. We'll get blooms 3rd year off of it. We might get like 1 or 2 blooms next year. And then back here, this bed right here, this is some more sunflowers, and I only have bird netting over the top. I don't have it over the sides, and the birds have found it. So that one I think only has a few sunflowers in it. And then this bed, basically from right here all the way down to the end, this is all dahlias, and I have, I want to say 38 or something like that, 40 of them in this bed. So there's tons of dahlias just in this one bed, and they're coming up really strong. I cannot wait. Whole bunch of different varieties. It's going to be so beautiful. And then we have T-post and netting, and as they continue to grow, I'll raise this netting up a little bit and put another layer so that way they don't fall over or anything. That'll really give them the support that they're going to need, because they're going to be way too top heavy and they'll just snap. So let's go this way through the willow tree now. Down this aisle right here, we'll skip down there because that's the dahlias. This side has some zinnias in this first section right here. It's a white variety. And then from there all the way down to the very end on this side is more dahlias, and this is ones that I started from seed. So I won't know the variety of them until they start to bloom, and then I get to kind of name them if I decide I like them. And then just right here at the very end is some amaranth, and you can see that this one has already started to bloom. This is the Hot Biscuit variety, and it's really pretty orange color with these green leaves. So really excited about that. And then I also have a red spike amaranth in there too. And then at the end of this, I have this really pretty burning bush. And I know for a lot of people, burning bush is invasive. It's not invasive. It's not invasive here in California, and it's got these really pretty flowers, and I just love the way it looks in the fall time. It literally like looks like it's on fire. It's so, so beautiful. And then down this way in this aisle of the bed, half or a third of this bed right here is scabiosa. I have, I think, 3 different varieties just in this bed. I have blacks, whites, and red ones all in this bed. I think I might also have like a light pink one. And then this is kind of where a few things kind of died in this flower bed. So I've got zinnias randomly tucked in. I had gomphrena, but none of them made it except for one plant. So I have one gomphrena plant. And then here is the honesty plant, I believe it's called. And it's really pretty. It's got these really cool heart-shaped leaves. I've never grown it before. They're really fuzzy and they're really, really pretty. And I'm really excited for the seed pods of this plant. Down here, I've got some feverfew, some yarrow, and then at the very end of this bed, more things died. So I just tucked in a mahogany splendor hibiscus that I grew from seed. I love the mahogany splendor hibiscus, and then some more zinnias just right around it. And then coming down this side, these 2 beds are just where I just packed things in. I have saponaria and a few other things just right here at the front. Really excited for these. I need to put some netting on them so that way they have some support. Some of them are already starting to go a little bit crazy. I have euphorbia, and then here I have yarrow, which I'm really excited about. They're really getting pretty big now, so they've put on lots of growth, which is really exciting. And then I have some more snapdragons. And really cool thing about snapdragons is you can tell the color of the blooms by the underneath. So you can see that this one's a little bit pink. These will be pink blooms. This one's a little more green, so these will be green blooms or white. I have some filler plants in there. And then on the other side is mums. And then on the other side I have Euringium, 2 different. I have white glitter and blue glitter. And then this whole thing, these 2 rows right here are lined with sweet peas that are supposed to be growing up this, but they have not fared too well. Not doing good with sweet peas this year. At the very end of this bed though is one of my favorites in the garden. This is a Japanese anemone, and it's putting on all of its leaf growth this year. It's such a bright color, and then they'll get a little bit darker, and this thing just spreads and has totally taken over. It's starting to come out under the bricks. It spreads by rhizomes. So if you do want to put this in your garden, which I do recommend, make sure it's somewhere that you actually want it because it's going to take over. It's really, really pretty, and the bloom spikes get about 5 feet tall. So really, really cool. I think this is the Pamina variety also. Foxglove, and then I have a little planter there, and then coming around this side, this is one of my favorite things in the garden. The blooms are starting to be a little spent, but I'm sure it'll spend up more bloom spikes. This is the columbine called Pink Petticoat, and that is just so cool. They're like a double columbine. The first year that we planted these, they were covered in spider mites, and so it was all bad. They did not bloom for us, and I thought they were just gone because all the leaves disappeared on it, but came back for us, and it's nice and strong and healthy this year. You guys saw the daffodils, but those have all come to the end. There's one random one right here. I don't know what this one is. I don't remember any other ones that came up looking like this, and it is so late to the game. So that's kind of a weird one. Coming down this way, this was supposed to be my Bells of Ireland. I think I have 3 that have made it. So 3 Bells of Ireland is all I guess I'm gonna get. There was supposed to be a ton of them. I even direct sowed a whole bunch in this bed, and they're just not happy with me this year. I failed on those. And then from here all the way back to here, this is Lysianthus. It's just a mixed variety. It's from saved seeds from a couple different ones that I had around the property. Then this is all poppies. I have oriental poppies here, so they're growing big, they're getting absolutely massive, and just kind of anywhere things died, I try to tuck things in. So this is another amaranth randomly planted in here, burgundy variety. And then The very end is some Dusty Miller. This is the new look variety, and I'm really happy to have this. I love Dusty Miller. They do really well for us in a warmer zone. And then let's go check out the very last bed over this way. So this is one of the last areas that we actually did on the property, and I'm really happy with how it looks. So last year's bed went straight back and then straight over. It made a hard curve, and over the winter I made this kind of like soft swoop in the bed and planted all those daffodils. And so all of this is a little bit more established over on this side than all the things that are on that side. But this is our Dusty Miller that is 3 years old now. This was just bought from a 6-pack, and I cut on it all the time, and I use the Dusty Miller in arrangements. It's really pretty. I love it, and it's actually about to flower. I've heard a lot of people say that they didn't know Dusty Miller flowered, and all of these will open up to really, really pretty yellow flowers. So it's really cool to see the yellow with the icy blue color. Back there I have a Rose of Sharon, which is a really tall plant, and it is the White Chiffon by Proven Winners, and that's about 2 years old. Behind that I have a Dwarf Buddleia, so a little butterfly bush. This is, I think this is the Pugster Blue variety, and this is probably about as tall as this is going to get right here. It shouldn't get much bigger than this, but it's really, really pretty blue blooms next to the white Rose of Sharon. And then behind that, this is one of our early blooming things. This is a Sweet Spire, and I love the red on the stems and the bright green, and then these white plumes right here. They'll get absolutely massive, and this thing is just chocked full of them. It's so gorgeous when this thing really fills out. Super pretty. I do plant amaranth up along these poles right here, so we get some coral fountain amaranth. Goes up nice and tall with these really, really beautiful tassels. Yeah, and let me show you guys actually one of my other favorite things. It's the Helen von Stein lamb's ear. It's right next to the Dusty Miller. Hold on. And then right on the other side of this is the Helen von Stein lamb's ear, and this thing is massive. This was bought like 2 4-inch cans, and they're beautiful, they're large, they're so incredibly soft. The dogs love to eat them, but it's fine. It's okay. And then in here I also have 2 cordyline, and they'll get pretty tall in our zone. They'll reach like 6.5 feet tall, but all the bottom leaves will fall off. So it'll just be this like stalk, and then this like really cool, it'll literally look just like this, but 6 feet up in the air, which is kind of cool. And then in here, this is a lilac that I had planted, and I totally killed it. And it was not this color, it was solid green, and now it's coming back variegated like this. And it's just crazy to me that it came back. I thought that I got all the roots out of it, but I didn't. And I don't know, a month ago, I noticed that pop up. So we're leaving it, and we're gonna see what happens. It'd be cool if we had a white variegated lilac like that. I've never seen anything like that. I did a little bit of research on it, and it said it can happen. I just didn't think it would happen from randomly the roots. I think that is it for our garden tour, guys. So I hope that you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for coming along with us today, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, guys.